right, welcome in Wrong Side of the Pond. He is DJ Schweitzer. I am Jerry Lance. Coming to you on a Wednesday night, FC Cincinnati post-match Wednesday night.
Yeah, that's right. You're going to give us a full breakdown of the match since you were in attendance, right?
I was there. Saw it all. Took copious notes there from my seats. It's also May the 4th. That was done to death at the stadium. You missed that.
Yeah. How did you enjoy that as a non-Star Wars fan, I would guess?
I don't know if you saw my tweet. It was roughly about 30 seconds into me being in the stadium where I just in all caps said, enough about the Star Wars.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially someone not being into that particular series.
I don't hate Star Wars.
Yeah.
I enjoy the movies. It's not my bag. I let other people enjoy it. It does need to be announced that I won a Twitter argument with you on this morning.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that you actually won the argument there.
Well, I re-asked the question and never got an answer. Who was the worst
fair.
actor? Never got an answer back.
Yeah, the supposition by Jeremy is that Hayden Christensen is the worst actor in the original prequel trilogy.
No, in the franchise on the whole.
Oh, okay, on the whole, wow.
Yeah.
Man.
So, I'm even letting Mark Hamill off the hook on this one.
I mean,
also not a great actor.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely some things to that as well. But
there's a reason why Mark Hamill's done basically nothing outside of Star Wars.
Hey, man, he's done lots of voice acting.
That's a whole different game. And guess who also does a lot of voice acting these days? Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true.
So DJ caped up for Hayden.
I did.
And tried to blame George Lucas and just threw him under the bus.
I did. I'm happy to throw George under the bus. I think some of Hayden's performances are due less to his acting abilities and more to some of Lucas's odd directional choices and demands of Hayden in the roles. But that's getting, pretty into the nuts and bolts of the nerddom that is Star Wars.
But that's what today's about, getting into the nerddom of Star Wars, right?
It's true. It's true.
What did you say? You said that it's a free pass. Everyone gets a free pass today. It's a no judgment zone.
Yeah. You can out yourself as a Star Wars fan today on May the 4th, and it's okay. Like, you're allowed to talk about it publicly and proclaim your love for it. Apparently a bunch of people wore masks and stuff to the stadium tonight. I mean,
security loves when you do that.
They really do. It's funny. I was having a discussion with some friends about that, and they're like, why would that be a security threat? And I'm like, imagine you did something in the stadium you weren't supposed to do, and they can't identify you because you're wearing a mask. And furthermore, like 50 other people at the stadium are wearing that same mask.
Yeah. Next time you're at a stadium, wear a balaclava and just see if they'll let you in.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting if I try to wear like a Darth Vader helmet on, the next match that I show up at, the men's national team game. I'm guessing they probably won't allow that to happen.
No, well, I know I'm going to keep my motorcycle helmet on the entire time I'm at the stadium. That shouldn't be an issue.
I'm sorry, sir. Are you a member of Daft Punk?
Yeah. Yes.
So no, you got to enjoy that experience firsthand tonight. Even as a Star Wars fan, someone who's really into the series, I don't know that I'm really into these nights that much.
Is it like people that like to, go out, have a good time on the town, enjoy hanging out at bars, looking at like New Year's Eve as like amateur hour? And you're just like, that's for the amateurs.
Yeah, like look at these people who only come out once a year.
Yeah.
They stayed up late to midnight tonight. Yeah, that's a little bit how it is. I don't know that that's necessarily the way that I look at it. I'm not necessarily one who likes to dress up in that, kind of way and go out in public and do that. And to be fair, I don't own like any Star Wars paraphernalia that I could wear. I just really enjoy consuming the content. So I guess that's part of it for me. But the other side of it is that, man, like, to invest in some of the outfits that people are wearing out there tonight, man. You got some serious money that you plunked down into that. And I prefer to spend that money on like soccer matches and playing soccer and the gear that's associated with that. So I mean, it's personal life choices, I suppose, as well.
You like to spend it on clothes that can be worn the other days of the year and not just today.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that I don't want like a lightsaber. Like every
Who
time.
doesn't? Who does? Like, I was in Disney World, like, in January, and yeah, it's like $200 something to make your own lightsaber. But don't you think I didn't sit there and go, man, but that'd be really cool to have.
It would be absolutely really cool to have. And when we inevitably make the trip down to Disney World, I am building into my budget like $200 for making my own lightsaber. Like, damn it, I'm an adult and I can have a lightsaber at this point. So, yeah. But you obviously didn't bring a lightsaber to the stadium with you tonight.
No.
FC Cincinnati didn't need them on the field. They get a second win in a row over Toronto FC, which is, man, even more rare than a positive Christian Hayden Christensen performance on the screen. So, I mean, it's a win in some capacity for everyone tonight that was in attendance.
Yeah, I didn't have time to. I was going to try to look up in the MLS era, when was the last time FC Cincinnati won back-to-back matches?
Off the top of my head, first season in MLS?
2019, probably, I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they won their home opener, and then they won like the following week at like New England, or do I might have the sequence wrong, but I think they might have like literally in the first weeks of being in MLS, they might have done that, and I don't think they've done it since.
No, I mean, if it has happened, it's eluding my memory, but it's a very rare event. But the guys are actually looking a decent side of late, even surviving some injuries that have kind of depleted them from some of their normal starters, and they're still getting results. So you have to admire the work that Albright and Noonan are putting in with the squad, and man, they just keep making some moves in the front office that have actually been pretty impressive, to be honest.
They've milked that number one allocation spot into like 300,000 in Garber bucks,
which is an incredible amount of money for it, and has gone a long way to recouping a ton of the money that they blew in that first year on a lot of frivolous buys that didn't pan out in the long run. So, they haven't certainly recovered all of that, because there was a lot of it that was pissed away. But
Nick Hagglund had a good night tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he had a decent night. He actually had the assist for one of the goals up in Toronto as well. So I mean, he's having a little bit of a renaissance as well at the moment. But yeah, they've certainly got a team that's looking a bit better these days, and you got to go out and enjoy it tonight.
I did enjoy it. Still really struggling with the guy that sits right by us, but one of these days I might fist fight him in the stands. So
what do you find so aggravating about him?
So like, banter is fun.
Sure.
Good banter is comical, and like the rest of the people in the crowd go, kind of around you, it's funny. That was a good one. Just being a raging douche and screaming at the top of your lungs at every player not on FC Cincinnati that comes with what you believe is earshot of you. Just nonsense and ridiculous commentary about a game that you seem to have a very loose grasp of how it's played. That wears on a person over 90 minutes.
Yeah, that could definitely get in the way. Is he the type that's making out loud comments, hoping that everyone's going to be laughing at him as well?
Oh, yes. 1,000%. 1,000%. Like he and sadly, he does have like a bit of an audience.
Oh no!
Like he's got a few that are like that kind of feed him. It's bad. It's bad.
Well, the only way to counter that is to just shout out other things and drown out his crowd with your own.
I could do that. Luckily, my boss said tonight, who I go to the games with, said he's like, you know what? By the end of the season, I'm going to have a talk with that guy.
Yes.
And my boss has no qualms about having any kind of talk with anybody. He has no worries about having a confrontation with someone and just shooting someone straight like that.
Man, now I'm getting worried about what Roger might have to say to me in the right circumstances.
Just, I mean, well, whenever you're available.
Name the time and place, I'm sure. Should we get into this weekend's European action since we've kind of stepped out of order here?
Sure. Yeah, right.
At least as we typically do things. So let's jump over to England and let's take a look at the ever evolving races at the bottom and top of the table. They've remained super interesting again after another weekend of results that really twisted and turned things around a bit.
Yeah, I don't know who you kind of want to start with first. I mean, we actually kind of have to talk about now the team in third place has been drawn into the chaos. Chelsea, a bad result, a result that we'll talk about the good ramifications for in a second as the relegation fight obviously played out through that match as well. As they lose to Frank Lampard's Everton, in just what became just another very underwhelming, janky performance by a Chelsea side that's kind of just trying to run out the clock on this season.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like everyone at the club has kind of gotten to the point where they're like, I'm over this, and
yeah.
It's not worth like all this effort and energy and all these questions I'm having to deal with. And like, we don't know what the situation about the club's going to be like in 2 months.
And the number of guys on the roster now that seem incredibly likely to be on the way out. Like and that's obviously the other weird thing is like how all that gets affected by this ownership sale. That's every time you think it's progressing really nicely, there's just a little crinkle in the action that kind of little crimp that kind of messes things up, and you go, oh no, okay, is everything in doubt again now? But yeah, I mean, if you think about it, you have multiple defenders, midfielders like Jorginho, Lukaku. Now it's being reported this week, and there was some cryptic deleted tweets by a certain dad of an American player on the team. We won't say any names. There's just a lot of dudes suspected of probably looking for the exit, or if you're Rudiger, you've literally already made that negotiation happen, and it's well known that you are leaving. So that plays into it huge. The fact that, well, I mean, up until now, they had pretty much kind of made their spot. Like, it's going to be third place, but now they've kind of slipped to a point where it could easily not be third place. It could easily not be fourth place. They've put themselves back into play for a real bad ending to the season.
It's funny. I think I made the joke to you last week, and I'm certain that I tweeted it as well, where I said, the way Spurs are playing right now, we kind of need Chelsea to just keep dipping a little bit. And maybe even if we can't catch Arsenal, they'll dip down below us. And I think you're like, we're okay. We've got 5-6 points to play with here. And
no, it turns out we were happy to oblige.
Yeah. You are still 5 points ahead of Spurs.
Sure.
But now just 2 ahead of Arsenal. Three
ahead of Arsenal.
Yeah.
But obviously, that could be one weekend fixture could turn that whole thing on its head. Now, luckily, our goal differential with Arsenal, there's a bit of a chasm, plus 39 to plus 13. So we do definitely firmly have that tiebreaker in hand. Let's just, for my sake, I'm hoping that doesn't even come into play. But at the moment, it's very close to coming into play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking over the Chelsea's remaining schedule. You've got Wolves at home, Leeds away,
Right.
Leicester City at home, Watford away, and then you end the season. And that's the end of your campaign. So, it's really not a difficult run in. You've got the cup final yet to play out as well against Liverpool, but I think that'll be more of a distraction than anything for them at this point. The only thing that they may want is just some extra points on the European scale to potentially improve their lot when it comes to seeding. But otherwise, I mean, I think it's you feel like there are no more points for them to really drop, but they also probably shouldn't have dropped some of the ones they've dropped recently.
Right. I mean, you kind of point out that they're playing some bottom of the table teams like Watford and Leeds coming up, but their two worst performances recently outside of the Arsenal loss was to Brentford, 14th place, and obviously then this weekend to 18th place Everton. So,
yeah,
as much as it looks like an easy road in, they've just decided to not make it easy for themselves at all. And so that's just going to put things in doubt, going forward. And Arsenal, as we kind of switch over to them, they're doing their thing where they kind of like to play really nice towards the end of the season when most things are settled and there's not a whole lot to grab outside of a third or fourth place trophy. But here they are with 3 matches in a row where they get wins over teams right there in the pack with them, over Chelsea, over United. And then on the weekend, they take out West Ham 2-1.
Yeah, and that's, a nice derby win in London on the road. I mean, that's a great performance from them. These are the types of matches they've been dropping all year long.
Yeah.
And now suddenly they're getting the results. Looking aside that they probably should have been all campaign long. But the thing is they're doing it at a point in the season when it really matters. Now, looking at Arsenal's remaining matches, and we've done this the last few weeks, going like, they've got some humdingers left. They've got Leeds this coming weekend, who, they're in the relegation scrap. So
and they have, I mean, you've kind of mentioned it now. So Leeds have Arsenal and Chelsea coming up as they try to keep themselves above the drop zone. They we'll get into it. They played City over the weekend. It didn't go well. It wasn't expected to go well. But it was interesting events there at the end where Jesse Marsch and the players still were trying to G up the crowd there and had them going. And that's kind of the thing that makes you think, oh man, that's probably how Leeds survives. They're just going to will themselves into this one. But yeah, tough stretch for them coming. Arsenal, Chelsea, two big matches there. But as you mentioned, Arsenal have that. They have then the North London Derby. It's pretty much right after that.
Yeah, it's on Thursday of next week, so that's looming. Then they have Newcastle, who are on this resurgence a bit as well, and probably wanting to pick up some points to build into the next campaign. And then at the end of the campaign, there's Everton, who are likely going to be scrapping for their lives at that point too. So
they have to throw everything at it.
Of their 4 remaining matches, only the Newcastle one is kind of like, hey, we should have no problem getting all 3 points here, and there's nothing really to play for out of it. And so everything.
I don't know. Newcastle's playing well though lately.
I know. I mean, it's all about what type of Newcastle side shows up that day and how motivated they are to get that type of result. But Arsenal are in a position where they're going to have to play games that require grit and fight 3 out of the 4 matches they're facing. So it's certainly a tough run-in for them, but they've hit their stride at the right point in the campaign, and it may be enough to get them over the finish line.
Let's talk Spurs.
Let's do it.
I don't know if that's the thing you like doing or not. Sometimes it's really hard to tell.
Sometimes I don't like doing it at all, if I'm being completely honest. But no,
sure. Okay.
They had a big win themselves this weekend, 3-1 over Leicester City. Goals from Harry Kane and then a pair from Son Heung-min, who just was spectacular. His second effort from outside the box, just a curler backside. Really great finish. Spurs needed that result because they've been kind of wishy-washy the last month or so. And they find themselves just 2 points back of Arsenal in fourth place with that North London derby looming. And that's, to me, the whole damn season like hinges on that. And knowing Tottenham, like, we'll probably win that game or get a good result there, like something that will help us. And then we'll piss it away like in the remaining matches and just, any ground that we've gained at that point will have been lost, by their own taking. So Spurs are just, it's been a wild campaign where like some really high highs and some really low lows. And I really don't even know what to predict out of them at this point.
They have coming up a pretty easy one. You guys play Liverpool?
Yeah.
At Anfield this weekend?
Yeah.
Seems challenging. Challenging the right word?
Yeah, and Liverpool themselves are in the midst of a title fight. So they can't afford to slip up at all. And it seems silly. Like, this club are in every final imaginable, right? They're playing in the League Cup final. They're playing in the FA Cup final. They just yesterday qualified for the Champions League final.
Quadruple is still on the table.
There is no way, as much as the coaches and players will want to talk about this, there's no way that they aren't thinking about that. And the idea that they aren't going to be fighting for every possible point they can get every match remaining in the season, because that's what it's going to take to pip it off of City at this point. Man, they're going to bring the fire for that game. But Spurs have had these moments this season when they face these bigger sides, particularly City, less so Liverpool, but they have these moments where they can be inspired and really show up. But my optimism is not that high with this particular match.
How deflating would it be for Liverpool if they actually managed to come up short in all four of those? And like just short, right? I mean, obviously they lose the title, it'll probably literally be by a point or two. They're in the final for the other two you mentioned. That'd be a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, it would certainly be, I guess, demoralizing to a certain extent, but I don't know, man, like making 3 cup finals in the season and being a point off the title, like that's a pretty damn good campaign. And I know how agonizingly close that can be, but this isn't like Liverpool are still on that amazing title drought that they were on a few years ago, right?
Right.
Like it's a different Liverpool side at this point. Like they are flush with trophies recently. So I'm going to have a hard time, like, putting myself in their shoes because I frankly can't. Like, I can't.
If all they walk away with is the League Cup.
Poor them.
Someone who's not walking away with anything, Manchester United.
Yeah.
They're in 6th place. They're still in the battle as far as getting, I don't know, maybe to 5th place. They have had a slightly decent run, I guess I would say. Obviously, they lose 2 big matches to Liverpool and to Arsenal. They get the draw with Chelsea, and then a pretty decisive win against Brentford here. Yeah,
I mean, a 3-0 win. Ronaldo being Ronaldo, once again. They're doing enough to remain relevant, I suppose. But yeah, I think at this point they're out of the race for 4th unless something really drastic, unfolds here shortly.
So the weird thing also about United's schedule is they actually their season's basically almost over. They just have 2 matches left.
Yeah.
They will play this coming weekend, and then they will play again on Decision Day on Championship Sunday, whatever you want to call it. Both away matches, so they had kind of the big unofficial sending off of some of their players that are notably going to be moving on from the club. Notably, two former Chelsea players in Nemanja Matic and Juan Mata getting the curtain call in this match.
Yeah, it's been a long run. You sometimes forget that they were even still there.
Yeah,
like there was a time earlier on in this campaign when I saw Juan Mata on the bench, and I was like, "Holy crap!" I thought he'd retired. He literally fell off of my radar of like me even acknowledging his existence. And
he's been with United for 8 years.
8
years.
8 years. And
insane.
He's barely got anything to show for it either, which there aren't many people who've gone through Manchester United in the last, decade or two who have been there for that long of a stretch and don't have anything to show for it.
Yeah. I mean, his probably more than Matic's was a weird one where he left Chelsea at a time where his stock was at its highest, really.
Oh yeah.
And he goes to a United side that was at early on in the flux that has been the post Alex Ferguson era. And it's hard to say it was a successful 8-year run. I mean, he kind of got lost in the shuffle of just a United side that has spent the majority of those 8 years trying to figure out how to be united again. And still working on that. Still trying to figure that one out.
Yeah. And Juan Mata was like, you know what? I don't need to be doing this anymore. I've
just burned 8 years spinning my tires here. My career is basically almost over now, so I got to go play at like DC United or something. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the memories. But yeah, United out of the race for fourth at this point, basically just trying to lock up some potential European football in the Europa League, hopefully avoiding that Conference League if they can do so. But yeah, I mean, the race for fourth is pretty much a 3-horse race at this point. And at this point, it may end up being that Chelsea is one of those horses. And I can't really envision anyone else sneaking into that conversation any longer.
West Ham, I think, is kind of out of the conversation of the clubs that are still involved in things. They are holding on to that 7th spot. Is the 7th spot going to count as a spot? Is that almost surely getting nabbed up by somebody?
I mean, I would imagine. Well, I mean, at this point, West Ham have the Europa League final that are still sitting in front of them, so
right,
they could potentially squeeze their way into the Champions League, even if they end up winning that. I would presume because of the way all the other slots are going to be doled out, that 7th spot is almost assuredly going to end up being a Europa League spot, or at bare minimum, a Conference League spot.
Sorry, I was watching the CONCACAF Champions League here, and Schmetzer just looking just like he's someone's dad trying to cool all the kids down there in a rowdy house just now.
Oh, he always looks like someone's dad that's been just got off of a 10-hour road trip where he's been selling phone books to I don't know, hotels.
Just trying to relax and watch the news. You guys need to chill out.
Yeah, everyone just
stop running around.
Knock it off and do what I ask at this point.
Who left the light on?
Yeah. Let's head down to the bottom half of the table and look at this race for the relegation spots, or rather the race to avoid the relegation spots. It is still rather interesting down there, given that some of the results this weekend, Everton getting that big win, as we mentioned earlier, over Chelsea, really did them a huge amount of good. They're now within 2 points of Leeds United, who's sitting 17th and within striking distance of Burnley as well,
Right.
who also did themselves a lot of favor with the win at the weekend. So
Right, I was gonna say they needed to get that win because Burnley also won. So had they dropped points, had the match gone the way most assumed it would have, it could have really put them into peril. It probably would have put Burnley in a position where they were, obviously had a little bit of breathing space because you now have an Everton side that then would have been on 29 points, so 5 points back of Leeds and Burnley, and that could have probably been enough at that point.
Yeah,
that's a long road back.
Yeah, now Everton, of course, still have that match in hand that could potentially do them some good. And looking at their remaining schedule, they've got some matches that are definitely winnable. Leicester City in terrible form, potentially checked out as well. Watford, obviously, already relegated at this point, and it's a question of like, hey, do we want to drag Everton down with us? Then they have Brentford, then they have Crystal Palace, and then they have Arsenal. So they've got these 5 matches left, and I would say, all but one of them is one that they should win, right? Like they've got the squad that they should potentially win all of them.
Should.
But they've
Everton lost a lot of matches they should have done better in, though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was exactly what I was going to get at too. And they're potentially facing even more issues as well with Richarlison tossing that flare back in, or smoke bomb back into the crowd. Iconic of a moment as it was.
Yes.
He's probably going to get in some trouble over that, which potentially could see him missing some match time.
That'd be painful.
Frank Lampard's also going to get himself in trouble for some of his post-match comments as well. So
I missed that. What did Frank say? What was Frank popping off about?
I feel like he had some disparaging comments for the referees.
Well, that never happened.
No.
I mean, was it Mike Dean? I'm trying to remember. I want to say this. I want to say Mike Dean had one of the matches I watched this weekend. I think it might have been that. In which case, understandable. Go on, Frank.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with Frank. It's just a question of Everton probably need all hands on deck at this point, and they may not have them due to some of the things that unfolded in this incredibly emotional event. Now, I do want to add in here, I know you're a Chelsea fan, but the scenes at Goodison Park after that final whistle were some goosebump worthy stuff. Like the fans,
absolutely,
just really into it.
As again, yes, I'm a Chelsea fan. I also do. If there's one man I'm going to cape up for, it's Frank Lampard. And so, based off of that, like, listen, I don't want Everton to go down. Right. I want Everton to survive because I want Frank Lampard to succeed in the mission of keeping them up. So as much as it pained me to see Chelsea put in a garbage performance, I was delighted for the Everton fans and the crowd on hand that really kind of we're kind of the 12th man in that match, and really we're willing the team on throughout. And got their just reward at the end. So as much as I should be really mad about that result and should have, tomahawked the TV remote into the couch and just stomped off after the final whistle. No, I didn't. I soaked in all of those scenes.
Got to taste the other team's salty joyous tears. That potentially could turn very sour here quickly. Just looking at Burnley, who we mentioned, also got a win this weekend with a 2-1 victory over Watford.
Also, who we want to go down.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. Aston Villa, then Spurs, then Aston Villa again, then Newcastle. So
I'm guessing that their original, one of their Aston Villa matches got coveted.
I think it did, yeah.
Okay. So yes, they're playing both of their legs of that home and away when the final week or so of the season.
Always a fun way to handle
wild. So that's kind of, I mean, Watford and Norwich, they're done.
Yes.
Good seeing them. We're getting we're getting Fulham. We're getting we're getting the cherries.
That's right.
Are coming back. So kind of excited about that. I'll be honest, I was kind of hoping that Nottingham Forest won that match on, what was that, Monday or Tuesday or whatever. Because I mean, they're obvious. They're still they're now in the playoff spot. They're the top spot in the playoffs. I'd love to see them return.
I know. They've been knocking on the door for so long now, it feels like. They've just been right there and just haven't quite been able to get over the hump. And I've secretly been pulling for them for a while, too.
Yeah.
And, it's great to have Bournemouth back. They're such a small club with a neat story and, lots of cool things going on there. But, yeah, I would be all about getting Nottingham back up here as well.
Yeah, I mean, we finally got Leeds back. It'd be cool to have another kind of, big history former big club back in the Premier League where they belong.
Yeah, people don't really realize it. Like, they literally won the European Cup twice. So, speaking of the European Cup, let's make a quick transition over to that. We have had another stellar week of Champions League semifinals. Let's start with the one today. Real Madrid doing just an absolute gobsmacked comeback at the last minute against Manchester City. They found themselves down 4-3 going into the match after that wild first leg last week. Manchester City find a second half goal to make it 5-3 aggregate, and you're like, that's probably it.
That's curtains. I mean, they were in the final, into those final minutes heading into the 90th minute. The commentators were already talking about how it was, here we are setting up this all England final. Like, they were already talking up City in the final.
It
felt that certain.
Yeah. I made a joke about it. Like, I was like, hey, next year's Champions League is just City and Liverpool playing each other 20 times. Like, that's just what it's going to end up being. I think we all thought it was done and dusted. And then Real went and found themselves a pair of goals starting 90th minute in injury time, forcing ourselves into extra time. And then it was there that a decisive penalty was awarded. And, of course, Benzema buries it. And Real Madrid find themselves back in the Champions League final.
Yeah. All of us Chelsea fans were the Leonardo DiCaprio meme of pointing at the TV like, hey, I've seen that late comeback to crush an England side before. I saw that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, that Real Madrid have been living by the seat of their pants.
In both of those cases, the Chelsea comeback late and obviously this insanely late comeback. In both cases, Madrid didn't have the momentum. They just literally Thanos style snapped their fingers and just took over and just all of a sudden made that pass, made that moment. I mean, in the Chelsea match, Chelsea had just taken the lead and then out of nowhere, Modric just plays this insane ball in at against the run of play and boom, Real Madrid score and it's just goes from there. And it was the same one in this match where City was running out the last few minutes of this match. And then all of a sudden, boom, they strike, they score.
Yeah.
And then literally seconds later, boom, they score again. They get both that they need. And from that point, and they own the momentum.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, moments before, Madrid had put themselves back into the match, City nearly scored a couple goals. Madrid cleared one off the line from a Jack Grealish excellent dribble into the box, and then Grealish missed just millimeters wide of the post after Courtois got some fingertips to it. So City could have really dusted this thing away, and they didn't. And it was enough space for Madrid to find something to maneuver in, and they maneuvered their way, along with maybe some helpful refereeing.
Sure. That generally always has to happen.
Into a Champions League final to increase potentially their already ridiculous number of trophies they have from this competition.
In Tuesday's second leg semi, it was a wild one as Villarreal stormed back early to climb all the way back from 2-0 to 2-2 in the contest. Everything was moving their way. You were like, wow, what a second half this is setting up for. And I don't know what Klopp did in that locker room, but something happened because a different Liverpool side showed up for that second half.
Yeah, it was a completely different team. And, while we may have been expecting some fireworks in the second half, we didn't realize they would all be one-sided. Liverpool grabbed 3, end up winning the tie 5-2. So, they are again in the Champions League final. But this is like the 5th time it feels like in the last 6 years almost. They keep trying. I probably got that number wrong. I think it's 4 and 5. But regardless, they've just had an amazing level of consistency in finding their way back into this competition and having an opportunity to hoist the trophy at the end of it.
Well, who's your pick in this? I mean, are you going this Madrid team that you can never count out, or a Liverpool side that has truly become, one of the European juggernauts as they used to be?
I'm obviously pulling for Real Madrid here. Always have had a long affinity for them to a certain extent, as well as I certainly am not pulling for Liverpool to find themselves any more glory. So,
ditto.
Yeah. Should we head stateside?
Let's go stateside. Not a whole lot going on. We're at that fun. Is fun the right word? Fun part of the spring where all these like international friendlies are being announced. Obviously, with it being a World Cup year, you also have all these U.S. friendlies being announced. Yeah, I saw Arsenal's coming over. They're going to play like Orlando and Chelsea. We had the big announcement of the match between City and Bayern Munich at Lambeau Field, which is a really cool one. Obviously, because it's, it's probably, as far as stadiums, football stadiums in the U.S., it's the most historic.
Sure.
At least from a professional standpoint. Obviously, they've already played at the Big House. They've already played in Columbus. They've already played at some of the big college venues. This would be the first time playing at Lambeau Field. It's an interesting one. Lambeau actually, about 7 or 8 years ago, switched their field to the model that was made famous in the Bernabeu, that hybrid grass growing through the turf model. So they got a European style rug there for them to play on already. So they've been ready for this one for years.
I'm sure you're itching to potentially go up and catch that one.
Dude, I've been thinking. I mean, obviously it's 2 teams I couldn't give a crap about, but to see, I've never been to a game of any sort in Lambeau. Little hard to get tickets. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, there's something about that.
Yeah, something about like a 30-year waiting list for season tickets. So yeah, no, it would just be cool just to go period to Lambeau and sit there and take in just the whole scene of the place.
Sure.
But yeah, to see the first ever European soccer match at Lambeau would be quite the moment. So yeah, I've thought about it.
All right, fair enough.
I mean, maybe I'll talk to my older brother. He's got one of those fake $250 ownership stocks. So maybe he can swing something, right? That's how that ownership works.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. I'm sure he can cash that in right away.
Exactly. He'll just get on the phone with the people there and say that he wants his usual seats or something. Speaking of seats and venues, Nashville opened their venue and filled, I believe, all the seats, I would hope.
Yeah, the largest soccer-specific stadium in the United States, 30,000 seats. Beautiful home that they've got themselves there. You just have to marvel at the number of these things that have popped up, especially.
It is wild.
in this portion of the country, we're especially spoiled with the sheer volume of soccer specific stadiums that we can drive to within like a 5 hour, range is just maddening. Like you get to extend that to 7 hours and you're talking about a cascade of stadiums that are available for us to actually go and visit. So
Yeah.
Congrats to Nashville for getting it done. I know it was a long, hard process as it typically is, but it was great to see them get the venue open.
Yeah. Still not sure how to pronounce the name of it, but
not even
place looked great. Place looked great, guys.
Yeah, it really did.
I'm sure you'll quickly get annoyed with all the little things they're doing there. The guitar rip to open the match, and Soccer Moses is going to probably run out his welcome because that always happens with, kitschy fake mascots.
Yeah. Although, for a club that, just opening a brand new ground, they're, playing some good football. That
helps.
Yeah. That does help as well. They just announced some new owners, including Reese Witherspoon. Not sure if you saw the People magazine post on social media where it called them the Nashville Titans soccer team.
Yeah. Good to see that that People magazine are currently hiring for editors because they apparently have vacancies in that department. Not sure how that one slipped through, but there it was.
Yeah. Anything else stateside you want to touch on?
No. We're just kind of, we're in the throes of the season. Everything's kind of marching forward.
We do have the CONCACAF Champions League final, which we're watching as we speak.
Right.
Seattle find themselves up 1-0. We're at halftime at the moment.
Will it hold?
We're all hoping. I think we're all Team MLS at this point, Team America, right? We need this long-awaited Champions League victory from a Major League Soccer side yet to happen in the modern era. So I'm certainly holding my breath. It's going to be a second half that I'm going to be more nervous about than I've ever particularly been about a Sounders match ever.
Yeah, I mean, we've been wanting this for a while. I'm trying to think of the last couple times that it's been close. Did Toronto make a final? Did I make that up?
Toronto made a final. Montreal made a final.
Montreal made that weird run where they were just a hot garbage team that somehow just ratted their way to a final, and to the shock of nobody, it did not work out.
Yeah, that can often go that way for teams that are masquerading as ones that are actually competent. And that Montreal side was definitely not competent. But let's get over to winners and wankers, though. What about your depressing item that you want to launch into the ether tonight?
I don't know if this is more of just an old man yells at cloud moment for myself, or
those are great. They're great.
Or if I'm just not just dialed in and I'm not cool and I don't get it and I don't see the future possibilities or whatever. But I was somehow super just annoyed and angered, which is kind of a dumb thing in of itself. At the fact that Serie A was playing up the fact that they were broadcasting an AC Milan match in the metaverse. Congrats? ? Okay. What does that mean?
So that means people with not real eyes can watch.
Right. So a video was playing on the internet somewhere. That's already happening. We're already doing that. What are you doing?
We're doing it right now.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just that was weird. It's like the new MLS initiative with the company Socio, who they have
I still have no idea what that was. Like they made that big announcement. I'm like, what does this mean?
Well, it had a whole bunch of buzzwords in it, but the one that really caught my attention was blockchain, which is, the thing.
I saw token in there. I saw token.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want a token.
I don't need that.
No.
I don't need a unique token.
Are those like Garber bucks? Are you letting fans now purchase and obtain Garber bucks? Like, what are we doing?
So I'll be honest. If I can earn points that allow me to buy allocation dollars, I'll do that.
Okay.
Like, what?
How did
what
your
would I
team
do?
buy down that contract? We crowdsourced it.
Yeah, we got some fans who just happen to be holding on to a bunch of GAM. So
Yeah, they got those GAM tokens. No, I literally at first thought it was like a gambling website, and I kind of wish it was, because that actually makes sense. I know what that is.
yeah,
I'm aware of how gambling works. I'm still not sure what these tokens and NFTs and all these other shell games are that now exist that people are just flocking to and lighting money on fire for.
yeah, yeah.
Oh man. I mean, listen, remember the racket, or at least the slant that was thrown at MLS there for a while was a Ponzi scheme. They're now at least partnering with different types of Ponzi schemes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're not being mutually exclusive at this point.
But there you go.
Yeah,
All the Ponzi schemes can band together.
good for them.
Your wanker.
My wanker this week. I feel a little bit bad in doing this, but I'm not against kicking people when they're down or maybe permanently down. I'm giving my wanker to Mino Raiola, the former Italian super agent who passed away this week.
You say when you said down, I just thought like, oh, this guy had we were dealing with someone with an injury, or
he's down.
They lost. He's down.
He's dead.
Down official.
And I know you're not like supposed to speak ill of the dead, but man, that guy totally trashed the sport. Like, I know he did a lot for his clients.
Sure, he's beloved by his clients because that's generally how people feel about the people that help them make millions.
Right, but like Paul Pogba, he helped him, initiate this move from Juventus back to Manchester United, and
that went well.
A world record fee. Raiola got 25 million of over 108 million euros that went down in that deal. That's an insane amount of money for literally just negotiating. Like that's all you're doing is like pushing paperwork and communicating back and forth. It's an insane amount, and it's helped. He has personally played such a huge role in the insane inflationary aspects of the professional game and the values that are tied to the players that are in it. And that has just had such an incredible trickle down impact on all the clubs that sit beneath those upper tiers. And it's driven up prices to a point that so many clubs can't even really afford. Like the debt burdens being carried in Spain and Italy are just insane. Like there's just no way they're going to be able to pay all this money back in any reasonable time frame. So, I know he did some good things for the sport along the way, but he's just, in my opinion, he had just a massively negative impact on the sport in the long run.
Yeah, I think about, as far as like all the rumored caveats to the upcoming Holland deal. Like that, he was the agent there, right? I'm sure he was the one that kind of helped author a lot of those alleged, with like his dad getting X number of millions as part of it.
Yep.
It's a weird one. Yeah, it's unfortunate when people pass away, but you're right. You're talking about a guy that, when you look back at what he meant to the global game, there's going to be a lot of questions about, is that a positive legacy or a legacy that sent or helped send the global game into the current state it's in?
Yeah, certainly so. What about your winner this week?
My winner, I know I kind of, it's like a crutch for me when I need a winner, but they delivered again with great news, and that's the Chair Boys. They squeaked in on the final day of the season to the final promotion playoff spot. They will play the soulless Monsters at MK Dons starting tomorrow. So all the Wimbledon fans that are taking maybe they take a break from learning all the teams in League Two that they get to play next year, can cheer on the Chair Boys as they help defeat them who shall not be named.
Yeah, except for when you mentioned them a moment ago. But don't worry about it.
Definitely mentioned them. It's MK Dons. I don't know. Did I say that?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Dele Alli played there?
He did.
Yeah.
He may soon find himself back at the rate he's going.
Milton Keynes is what that stands for.
And Dons comes from Wimbledon. Dons being the old nickname of the former club, that AFC.
I thought it was named after Don Shula. Okay, so I have bad info.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
All right. Okay. That's my winner. My winner is not MK Dons or Don Shula. It's Wickham. They are into the playoffs again to hopefully find themselves back into the championship. This time in a season where they can actually profit off of attendance, which was not the case the last time.
Yeah, they could probably.
They picked the worst year in the history of the EFL to have their one maiden voyage in the second flight of football.
Yeah. Let's head our way over to my winner, and my winner is I'm going to stick in the Italian side of things. I'm going to go to Carlo Ancelotti, who becomes the first and only manager to conquer the continent's top 5 leagues when his Real side lifted their 35th La Liga title. Just the body of work that man has put in. I mean, I know you've got some respect for Ancelotti, given what he's done.
A ton.
This is his second pass through Real Madrid. He won the Champions League title last time he was there. He's now knocking on the door again already with them. He's done it.
How about that? That the thing that stands in the way of Liverpool hoisting the big ears is an Everton manager.
I know. How incredible is that? Like truly incredible stuff. But he just keeps doing it on a high level, and he's not. I feel like he very rarely gets tossed into those conversations as like, the best managers. Everyone talks about Guardiola and Klopp and Conte, and it just doesn't seem like Ancelotti gets levied into that same conversation as often.
Is it because the names you all just mentioned? When you say the name, when you say Klopp, when you say Pep, you are when you say Sir Alex, you're instantly, as a football fan, thinking of a style of play.
Yeah.
And when you think of Ancelotti, a certain specific mastered style of play is not the first thing that comes to your mind. So no. I think, is that it? Is that we consciously, subconsciously, whatever, devalue him as not as less of a tactician as the Klopps and the Peps that are just these galaxy brains when it comes to managers? Is it that?
It could potentially be. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not got that like sex appeal that maybe a Guardiola has, or the charisma that Klopp and sometimes Conte show, right? Like those aren't his things, and I think those probably do him some disservices as well, right? Like sure. Maybe if he was more animated, maybe if he,
right there, he's also like, he doesn't like his personality is like kind of like low key and cool.
Yeah,
which is not like a personality that like is, it's not a one that captivates fan bases of like, how Liverpool fans, rightly so, are very captivated by just the whole ethos that Klopp brings,
his
to
aura.
Liverpool. Yes. No, I think there's a lot to that he's just a guy that just goes in there and does a job and knows how to do things. And yeah, no, when I saw that announced that's how that he had officially done that, I was super happy for him. As you mentioned, the way he checked the Premier League box was with Chelsea. They're at kind of with the weird hodgepodge of like the Mourinho spine that was still there, plus like kind of some random guys that you forget were part of Chelsea at all, like Alex. Dudes like that.
Ancelotti's been able to get a tune out of many, and he's doing it once again, and may very well add to his trophy haul here again in the very near future. But I think that brings us to the end of this week's show. As always, if you want to get a hold of us, you know where we are. We're on Twitter. Jeremy's at Jeremy Lance. I'm at Wrong Side of Pond. Until next time.
Later.